What if your team could talk to your customers every day? At our SF Tech Week workshop, Know Research's Katrina Noelle and buyer psychologist Katie Reed revealed how AI and human insight combine to create living personas. Featuring a case study from the team at Everyman Jack, this session proved one thing. When you blend buyer psychology with AI, you don't just guess what motivates people, you know.
We really believe in the connection of human and all of the intelligent tools that we can find. So we are a qualitative first agency and we're a human first agency, but there's so many great things that help us be even better humans and researchers and analysts and thinkers and beers that we try to leverage them. So we're building tools and thinking about tools every day. And this partnership grew out of that because we were looking for a really good on-brand partnership to develop technology to help us with our research and help, most of all, the dissemination of our research and helping insights live within organizations in a more interactive, long-term way, rather than just being on a slide and then being forgotten. We really want the voice of the customer to live within the brands that we serve. So when I met Katie, we had a lot of similarities in terms of how we think about the world and what we want from these tools. And so this is the partnership that we formed, and we're going to help you all kind of play around a little bit with how to get to know your customers a little bit better. Yeah, you want to do
my
do
song
you.
and dance?
Do
Yes.
you.
I'm Katie Reed. It's nice to meet all of you. I don't live here. I went to grad school here a million years ago and became a therapist. And I've been a therapist for a very long time until 2018 when I moved into entrepreneurship. And then my sort of lifelong obsession with human psychology moved into becoming an obsession with marketing psychology, buyer psychology, what motivates us to spend money or to make the choices that we make. And so I got really interested and fascinated. As you all know from the brands you come from, we really need to learn our clients, our customers from the inside to understand how they're going to act, how they're going to behave. And so when AI came along, I got really fascinated because I was like, oh, we suddenly have access to the best potential buyer psychology tool that we could possibly have for the whole human race to be able to use it in this way. And so it was fun. When I met Katrina, we met and I told her what I was doing, that I was basically taking buyer psychology that was coming from research, coming from what clients and brands knew about their people, their customers, taking that buyer psychology and building it into GPT form, where you can now have your client, your customer on demand all the time, ask them anything, use them to research, use them to investigate your ideas, your copy, your marketing, your ads, all of those types of things. And so we teamed up and we've been having a lot of fun doing that. We've got some great brand representatives here today as well who have helped us with some of that. But if it makes sense, we'll just launch right into, there's that QR code on the screen. You can opt into that. What that is going to take you to is a website, and there are little videos on the website. I recommend not clicking them because they will start playing and make noise here in the room. You can click them a different time. There's little AI videos on there. But what it talks about on this site are the 15 major areas of buyer psych that are validated by research. So what that means is this is the way that all of us make decisions when we go to the store, when we shop online, whether we're thinking about it or not. This is the stuff that's going on in the background in our subconscious mind, and sometimes our conscious, but often just under the surface. And these are the things. So I wanted to kind of quickly run down through them and have you, instead of thinking about your business or your clients or your brands first, have you actually think about yourself. And I would be curious just for you thinking about yourself in terms of these different areas. So the first one that you can see on there is identity now. So a lot of times we buy things which on some level are affirming our current identity. So for example, if I am a green consumer, I might only buy green products, right? That's not an aspirational identity for me. That's a current identity for me. That's what I'm thinking about right now. What are other examples? What can you think of that you might buy that asserts your current identity? Maybe it says something about your values, what's important to you. You can just throw anything out there.
I buy a bunch of gear when I'm training, or like a race or something.
Oh,
when
there
I'm
you
on
go.
Triathlon mode.
Totally.
Triathlon mode.
Oh, I can absolutely see that. And that's perfect because that is also like broadcasting, like, hey, I'm training, look at me. I love that. That's a really good one. What else? Anything else?
We're looking for a new house.
Oh, interesting. That's a major purchase too. Well, now that's interesting because I could see where it might be on the line between identity now and aspirational identity, which is that next one right down our list. But we do have that difference where we buy some things to say, this is the person I am right now. Like, for example, let's say it's really important to me that I know that I love being frugal and I'm really creative. Then I might be the person that I want you to know that I thrifted my whole outfit, and I go thrifting every weekend and look at all this cool stuff that I bought because that's my identity. Versus somebody else who's like, I want you to know that I'm rich. So I buy really expensive stuff because I want everybody to know that that's who I am, right? We see that, right? Like we've known people.
They're out
And
there.
so there's, exactly. And that's that identity now. Now the other part of that, and I'm not sure with buying a house, you'll have to tell me where you think you fall. Some of that could be more of aspirational identity too. It could be more of like, do I want to live in my same neighborhood or am I trying to move up to the fancier neighborhood across town? Like I could see that coming in with house shopping too.
It's not it's not aspirational, it's need based.
It's okay, there you go. So that's like now.
Selling 2 houses to buy one.
Oh, there you go. Right, because someone's getting married. As we just learned. So what about aspirational identity purchases? Can you think about these? You talked about triathlon training, a really common aspirational identity purchase. Maybe everybody makes this around the 1st of January. We all join the gym again. We all sign up for some new like diet and exercise and training and this and that, right? That's the aspirational identity. That's I'm buying this because, man, in 3 months I'm going to be so ripped or whatever it is. What are other aspirational identity purchases we might do?
Would my like nonfiction should books fall into that?
Ooh, good one. I want to be a person who like reads a book every week. And so I have this stack. That's a really good one, actually. That is a good aspirational identity. I love that.
I get to participate too.
By all means. What's
Like
something?
hobbies, you think you're gonna get into something and you start buying everything.
All
you
the
need for that.
gear.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love that. That's so true. How many of us have like really expensive gear out in the garage or in a closet somewhere for the hobby that never quite became the full identity? I love that. That's a good one. So aspirational identity. So that's another one. Motivation focus. Now this one is a slightly different area. So in this one, what we're looking at with your buyers is, are they buying this thing to escape pain? And pain is a dramatic word. It might just be escaping discomfort. I might buy deodorant to escape the discomfort of smelling bad during the day, right? Like it's not like acute pain, but I'm buying it to get out of a discomfort of some sort. Or am I buying it because I am moving towards hope, towards pleasure, do I buy the chocolate because I'm moving towards that pleasure part of it? So that's another one that comes into play when we're buying products. And it's important to know with whatever you're selling, are you selling the kind of product that somebody is buying it in that moment of pain, or they're buying it towards that moment of pleasure because it's going to change your copy, your ads, how you're speaking to them. Those types of things really do come into play on those little micro decisions that you make about what goes on your website or what goes into the product or what goes on the box. That comes into play there, right? Questions about that one? Makes sense? Jump in anytime. We're such a small group.
But I would say also like anecdotally, that's a big one for us when we're working with brands and we're trying to make those copy and messaging decisions, because it is a very different message if you are delivering pleasure versus preventing pain, right? That's entirely different wording, different RTBs, right? When you're talking to one of those points of view.
It's so true.
When you describe these, are they always like individual human behavioral traits, or do they sort of go broader, like the idea of pain in many ways in what I do can describe sort of there's a big gap in your business, this is costing you money, there's a lot of pain in that you haven't been able to solve this, and so you see it as an unsolvable challenge. So if somebody kind of can present to you and have the pain reliever,
Yes, that's perfect. Exactly. And then that, you're absolutely right. It can be felt in the individual. It can be felt company-wide. It can be felt in how is the company scaling and growing. Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's perfect. And understanding that, especially when you sell B2B, is massively important. So that's a great one.
Okay.
Good one.
And how do functional versus emotional cues fall across the spectrum from, if you're doing some inspirational versus motivational?
Like in terms of how the marketing runs, or what are you thinking about?
We've done a lot of research on emotional cues across a journey.
Love that.
To understand, kind of like what are we speaking to what's actually going on in their brain at that particular time?
Exactly. Versus, and again, this is where it comes down to the uniqueness of each product that you're selling. So for some products, you might be speaking to what's going on, the pain that the business isn't growing or whatnot, and you're really wanting to hammer in on that pain point. Whereas for others, you might be speaking to that aspirational identity, I'm going to read 1 million books, or the sort of micro aspiration, I'm going to buy the deodorant so I smell good, the basic things. So that's exactly right. And knowing that much changes everything about how many sales you're going to make based on what you say and how you present and all of that. Exactly. Love that.
And I think that's important for brands that are they sell multiple
Yes.
product lines or have different levels of
Yep.
product,
Yep.
right? Because you could be selling a functional triathlete sock, or you could be like, the blinged up jacket that does 17 things and, has
Yep.
all these tech attributes, right? So those could be doing different things within the same product set or the same brand.
Yep, exactly. I love that. The next one is primary pain and end state. I think of this one as the secret FU. What is the secret FU that your client is saying in their head? That if your product works for them, they're saying a secret FU to who? The ex, the boss, the people who didn't believe in them when they were in school. There's always something, and people always smile a little bit when I say this one, because probably you can even think of one from your own life that you're like, oh, I'm gonna go to that gym, and when he sees me next time, or whatever it is, it's that little, so you're signing up for the gym. It looks very basic on the surface, but deep down, we are often motivated by, don't think that all of your customers and clients are saints who are only motivated by their highest level of being on earth. We're not like that as people. We're motivated by wanting to be able to show up and be like, that's right, like you didn't think I would succeed, look at me now. And we have those motivations going on. As I'm saying that, does anybody have anything popping to mind from your past or from a time that you did that?
That you feel comfortable sharing.
Maybe a revenge dress,
Ooh, good one.
Possibly.
Good one. Yes, right? When you're going to the reunion and you're like, exactly. Exactly. But that's a perfect example. And so it is interesting because there's a lot of brands that don't think about that they just think, well, we want it to work for them and we want to show the benefits and blah, blah, blah. But really deep down, you could have some great, funny, exciting marketing that just shows them in that moment of like, look at my revenge dress, and that's showing, it might be an ad for a gym, but really the ad is about the revenge dress because that's what's really motivating them under the surface.
And
right?
I have to say, this doesn't have to be like fun, sexy categories. I notice this a lot. We do a lot of work in financial services, and there's a lot of like, if the customer service agent pisses me off, or you charge me too many transaction fees, or I get a late fee and I'm not happy with you, I'm taking out another credit card and switching my primary card to that card to spite you. But it's interesting that we see that, and it's something that people do not think they're doing. They just think like, oh, I'm upset about that fee, I'm getting a new card. But that's actually saying something to the other brand, right? So you have to be a little bit careful from a messaging. You can't like throw other brands under the bus, but you can say if you've had a less good experience, or if you want to be with a brand that gives you a better customer service, come on over, right? We're here and we're customer first, or something like that.
I love that. That's so true. Okay, next one on the list, uniqueness versus belonging. Who here are the people, like, you were always on sports teams, you were in sororities, fraternities, like you always are in groups and clubs and you love that type of activity. Who are those people in this room? I should have known I was in San Francisco and everybody was going to be uniqueness motivated in San Francisco.
We've got two.
No, totally. And those tend to be belonging motivated people. They want to have a group, have a crowd, have the friends, be in the middle of everything. They are going to be hit hard by FOMO. they are going to really pay attention to that type of messaging and marketing because their motivation is that they love being part of the group. Like, it's such a natural human motivation. And then there's a spectrum, of course, so we all fall somewhere on the spectrum, but on the far other side is the uniqueness motivated person. So this is the person that they want to be first to discover something, or they want to find the best, or have the VIP version of something. They're motivated by that uniqueness. And so as soon as, I'll tell you an example, just recently, there was a guy who was doing this huge online launch, and I started getting all these ads that said, 500,000 people have already signed up for this online launch that was happening on this day. Like, why aren't you here? And as soon as I got that ad, I'm the uniqueness motivated buyer, I was like, I will never, under any circumstances, go to something that has 500,000 people already. Like, that completely turns me off. And what's interesting is when you know this stuff about yourself, you'll start noticing it more and more in these little micro ways, which makes it kind of fun. But I was like, oh, look at that. That's my uniqueness motivation, being like, next, not doing that.
Would you say, like, from like a user lifecycle standpoint, like, I would imagine, for instance, like your example of like being uniqueness, hey, brand new product or like brand new service, that's going to drive you to use that.
Yes.
And then once, like, to retain you down the stream, like the messaging to that unique person can't be about the uniqueness, it would have to be about some other motivational aspect.
I don't know, maybe. And it could be for some brands, like Katrina was saying, as product lines expand. If I'm identifying with a brand because I'm like, they are always first to market with cool new ideas, or they've always given me a cool VIP experience, or something that feels unique about them, then that might be a motivator to continue to stay with that brand. You're saying, well, if I'm selling this one thing, then they're going to go out and find the next version of that one thing.
And then how do I keep you?
Exactly.
Like, at some point, my product is not going to be unique anymore.
To you, exactly.
But I still want to retain you somehow.
I think, to me, then, that brand voice is still about, you found us. You found this brand. Not everybody's here. This is our unique
You've
brand.
been with us since X. I mean, I think that's a lot. If we can think about any loyalty programs that we're a part of, or any VIP or status-based programs, that's part of it, because you can be an incumbent, right? You can already be a purchaser of the brand, but I know if I happen to be a Lux member of something, I feel special because I get like early announcements on things. So they're still keeping that freshness and uniqueness. Like, you're getting this sweater before everybody else does, because that matters to me apparently. And so they're still hitting me with that, right? Because they put me into a tier, they put me in a program. I'm like spending more and earning points and stars just to keep it, right? So that I keep getting that early access.
Okay. So you're saying that regardless of where you are, where a consumer would be in their life cycle for your product,
I think as the brand,
you would still communicate, like you would still want that content to be catered to that.
Right. And I think that's kind of getting to the punchline of all of this, of once you figure out the buyer psychology of your target audiences, right? And you identify a segment where uniqueness is very important to them, then you've got to think along those lines. Okay, so how do we retain them if that is an attribute that's really important to them, that's strong within them, right? So I think it's kind of like, once you figure it all out, then you're like, okay, we want long-term customers who value uniqueness. How do we plan for that creatively as a brand?
And I love that loyalty example because there's so much you can do with it that does cater to the uniqueness driven person, where you're like, we're doing this live event and it's going to have whatever, like hot air balloons and I don't know what, but you're going to be constantly giving them new unique opportunities where they're going to be the only person on their Instagram with those pictures. And it's going to continue to drive home to them, look at me, I'm unique. I did this cool thing with this cool brand. So that's such a good question. I love that question. Good one. Okay, I'm going to keep running through because I just don't want us to be here forever. Decision style. Who here is the gut impulse, you see it, you buy it? Quickie buyers, yep, a lot of us. Who here? It is. That's true. Actually, I'm going to ask a qualifier. What price point does that change for you? Because that's what it is. Like,
that's what it is.
Right, no, that's true. But for a lot of us, that's why you see so many things online that are like $27, $37, because for a lot of people, that's the, I won't talk about it, I won't think about it, I'll just click buy. But now once you hit, $95, oh, maybe I'm going to pause for a minute. Maybe I'm going to think about this a little bit more, right? Now, who are the people that before you buy anything at all, you read every Amazon review, you read everything.
All the research.
Totally.
Cannot.
Yes.
Yeah, got a spreadsheet, pros and cons. Ratings tracker.
I love it.
This is a safe space.
Exactly.
Today, this is a
Exactly.
safe
It
space.
depends what it is too, right? Like,
Like if it's a
for
car.
vehicles or cars or
Yeah.
like electronics, I want to know that it's not going to
Right.
be a piece of junk. But if it's like a piece of jewelry that's more of like personal item or it makes me feel good, or
Yeah.
I know it might cost as much as the car, but I'm like, whatever. Like, I love that thing. I'm buying it.
Right. You just see it and it's
Yeah.
got more of that
Yeah,
gut
and then
impulse
I'm
there.
just like, what the hell did you
You're right. And then you're like, that cost even more than I thought. Now she's mad at me. That's good though. So it's important even to know that, because let's say you have a product and you know that your price point and your product, that most of your buyers are going to be gut driven people. You should actually be speaking to that directly in your marketing. Be like, well, if you're having the feeling, or you landed here for a reason today, or whatever it is, because they pride themselves on having a strong gut. Whereas like the Lindsays, who pride themselves on doing research, you're going to be speaking to that. You're going to be saying, you really do your research, so you know that we are ahead in this and this and that category, and that we have this and this and that review. And you're going to be speaking to that, because that's what that person prides themselves on, is that they've done that research and they know what they're doing. So this is another one that it's always fun, because we're always split in half on that one. Okay, purchase context. There are people and products that we only buy when we kind of hit rock bottom, right? Where it's like, you have to be to the point where you have 100 pounds to lose before you're going to join the gym, Whereas there are other people that they only buy when they're feeling really good. And they're like, I'm going to celebrate myself with this piece of jewelry or this whatever it is. So it's really interesting to look at, for your people, are they the people who are not going to buy until they hit that low level, and that we can speak emotionally to whatever? I mean, it sounds dramatic when I say it, like I don't mean they're in the gutter, but we're talking in relation to your product. How are they going to buy? Or are they buying when they feel good, when they're in a celebratory mode? And some of this, of course, relates to, well, what is the product? And that's going to determine that one quite a bit too. Welcome to everybody just stepping in. Sorry we don't have enough seats, but we will do a seated activity pretty soon.
Okay, just to kind of give a time check.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through a handful more of these. There are how many? 15 in total.
Yeah. What is our time check? Are we?
We're fine.
Zip.
We're fine.
Okay.
We're good. We're going to go a little faster on this, and then we're going to have everybody get a worksheet. We will have a digital version or a physical version, and then you're going to kind of fill this out with how much you know about your client, customer, or buyer, and then we're going to talk about how that went. So just kind of as a refresher of, you're not going to be standing around here listening to us forever. We're going to go away, sit down, have an activity, and then come back and talk about it. I breezed through the agenda before. I didn't say that. So
no, this is good. And I'll start
now.
going faster. So anxieties and objections. So this one's interesting. This tends to have to do more with how perfectionistic are your buyers. How much is your buyer a person who says, I know that worked for everybody else, but it'll never work for me because I blah, blah, blah. I'm such a loser. I'm not smart enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. It's interesting to know that, because if you know that your buyer is that more high anxiety, more perfectionistic buyer, it's actually important to use language in your copy, your ads, your marketing that reassures them, that might speak to that, but that also reassures them of all the reasons why they will have this success, and they can, and they're not, terminally unique in some bad way, but they will be able to do what other people have done. Emotional triggers. This is a big one. I mean, how many people take out their credit card when we see the starving rescue animals and the puppies and everything else? There's a lot of products where the emotional trigger, you being able to tell a story, our brand, whatever, helped a single mom buy her first home and get her first car, that you being able to tell a true emotional trigger story is going to go farther than any amount of song and dance marketing you could possibly do, because that buyer is just going to be motivated by their own emotional experience. Price sensitivity, we mentioned this one in regards to the one earlier, but price sensitivity is basically, at what point does your person stop and think? I recently was getting an ad, funny we're talking deodorant is our theme today. I was recently getting an ad for a deodorant brand. It was like Stone and Salt or Salt and Stone.
Because you were working on the project.
That's probably why.
It's all
oh my
your
God, that's
fault.
probably why.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was $20. And I was like, $20 deodorant. Like, I had just not seen that price point on deodorant before. So what is the price point relative to your product where people are going to stop and be like, what? It's how much? And the truth is, some of those people, your uniqueness VIP buyers, they're going to light up when they see that they're going to be like, get me the pack. You know, this must be more special, more unique. I'm the first one to find it. Look at me go. And some people are going to be like, you're crazy because my value is frugality. I coupon, I shop at Walmart, you know, and they're going to be like, that's insane. Who would pay that much for deodorant? And so you need to know what's your product, and then where does your buyer hit that price sensitivity, that think twice point, whether they're standing in the aisle or they're hovering on your website. What's that price point? Okay, preferred proof. We tend to have one type of proof that we respond to more. We either respond to people like us, so I want a story of someone like me liked or succeeded with this product, or celebrity proof, and celebrity is a wide range. You know, online it could be an influencer, it could be your typical celebrity, athlete, whatever. The thought behind celebrity proof is not necessarily they're a celebrity so they know more. It's typically they're a celebrity, therefore they have more resources than I do, so they probably tried more stuff. So they probably know the best stuff. That is what we tend to ascribe to them in our thinking when we see the sort of celebrity endorsement. And then the other one relates back to the emotional trigger, which is for some people, you can give all the testimonials in the world, but if you tell one, you know, if one puppy was saved, that is what's going to get the buy. That emotional hook story is what's going to get them to buy, to stick with you, to love your brand, to really feel connected to your brand over the long haul. Another big one, and this is for a lot of products that are store products, past habits and brand loyalties. How many people just buy the same brands? You know, of a lot of our daily use goods, we just buy the same brands. If you shop online, it will suggest, hey, you buy these things every week. You want the same weekly shopping list, because they know that you are most likely to buy those same things every week. So if you're a brand trying to break into an area where people have strong brand loyalty, you're going to have to do something to uniquely stand out. And so it's having an awareness of that breaking a brand habit can be a very hard thing. And so you need to come in with something totally unique and different that is of high value to them. Not just like, look at us, we're cool, we got this, whatever, athlete to partner with us, but something that is of high value to them that is going to make them stop and think, okay, maybe I'll give you a try.
And I think it's important to not just think about love. These aren't just brands that you love. Inertia can fall into this category, right? Like just habit, inertia, subscription. I just pay this every month. Like there's that can stop people from experimenting and finding new things too.
Totally true. Good one. Okay, we're getting there. Reactants. Who have you ever seen online? It can be any brand, any person, any spokesperson that you instantly thought, I don't like you. We all have these people, right? That for whatever reason, they just feel like, yuck, like that person just rubs me the wrong way. I'm not going to follow them. I'm not going to listen to their suggestions on things. That is your reactance trigger. A reactance trigger can come up in regards to a person. It can come up in regards to a product. It can come up in regards to just about anything really that kind of gives you the ick when you're looking at it. That for whatever reason, it just rubs you the wrong way. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong or bad with them or the brand. It just means it doesn't jive with your psychology. It doesn't match with you in some way. And so you feel reactance to that. And so being aware of what are the things that might typically cause reactance in your people can help you make better marketing decisions towards your people. And the last couple, cultural and social markers. What groups do I self-identify into? So these are the things that people talk about themselves in certain labels that they're proud of. And so if you're a brand that caters to, and it can be anything, literally from a cultural background to like girl boss, you know, or whatever we see online as the different labels and hashtags.
Which, by the way, is just a boss. Sorry, go on.
Yes,
Sorry.
very well. But these are those different labels that people like to ascribe to, and they like to say, I am a this, I am a that. This could even be things like, I am a whatever sports team fan, I am a San Franciscan. They can be bigger labels like that as well, and they can be more micro labels that makes them feel unique. And then finally, post-purchase success. Did your product work? How do I judge for myself that your product, because your product might work great for somebody else and I might still feel like it didn't work for me. That's obviously going to impact if I give you another try or not. So that's a big one. So with that, you now know the 15 major elements of buyer psychology. And what we would love you to do is switch your thinking now a little bit. Do we want to give them, flip ahead a slide so that they can download this? We have this in paper form for you, or you can do it on your phone or computer, whatever's easier.
And so this is the same, so definitely keep that URL from the page if in case you have any questions for a little bit more depth on the psychology qualifiers. But basically what we're going to hand out, and you can if you want to go digital, you go digital. If you want a piece of paper, we'll give you a piece of paper. Equal opportunity here. Basically there's 3 columns. We're going to give everybody a little time to do this, and Katie and I are going to circulate if you have any questions while you're doing this. It's basically, if you look at each qualifier, you're going to go through why or how this fits my customer. So you said about 5 to 7 most.
Oh yeah, we didn't really talk about that. So typically, let's just give you one line on this. So all 15 do not apply to every purchase you make. In any given purchase, there might be about 5 to 7 of these that are stronger as related to that purchase. Like if you're buying an everyday household item, you might have more brand loyalties and habits coming into play, or more price sensitivity. If something is a $20 deodorant that you're feeling price sensitive to that, it's going to be very different than if you're buying a new house, a new car, new jewelry, things along those lines.
Yeah. So I would say my recommendation, how I did this, because I practiced this. We're good researchers. We practice our guides and activities before we make other people do them, was to go through the qualifiers first and kind of put checks in this first column of like, if I think about my customer base, my client base, which of these do I feel like in my gut are more essential to them? Then the second column is so it's like why, right? Like I check them and then I'm like, why is that? Why do I feel like uniqueness is important to my client base? Why do I feel like motivational focus is, right? And then this is kind of the reality check. The second column is what else do I need to know? Like I think that's right, but I don't actually know if our sales data matches that, or I don't know if I've ever really looked at my customers through that lens to know if that's true. I have a hunch, but I don't know. And then the last column is how I could learn it. So this is not necessarily a plug for conduct more primary research, although I suggest everyone do that. You don't have to use us, you can do it yourself. But I think also think about, do you have sales data that you could look at? Do you have Google Analytics? Do you have online reviews? Do you have casual conversations with your client base? Like, how could you fill in the gaps? Because I think, personally, market research, consumer insights, voice of the customer work is all about filling in the gaps. You know some things about your customers and clients, but you don't know it all. So part of the point of doing research is to fill in those gaps. This is kind of this exercise to figure out which of these attributes do you think are strong enough. And for those of you that have beautifully built segments and personas and wonderful things like that, try to pick one to do this with, because otherwise it's a lot of work. So pick your like primary target or your main target audience.
One of my first big tasks as an incoming marketing leader was just to get a lay of the land and really make sure that the foundation that the business is built on was really solid. So when I was here 2.5 years ago, the brand was like Gen Z, Gen Z, Gen Z. So all of the marketing, the product, like all of our messaging, like the way that the roles and responsibilities were divided was really focused on getting to that Gen Z. Come back 2.5 years later and it was like millennials, right? It was like 90% millennials. So it was like, I was like, oh, whiplash a little bit. And they're like, well, we're gonna do Gen Zennial where it's 90% and 10% and you know, there's a lot of difficulty there, right? Because you know how old they are, but beyond that, you don't know very, very much. So I set out to do kind of the company's first ever consumer segmentation. And I would say that there was a lot of excitement internally about that from the marketing teams and the Omni teams. It's a team that we have a lot of our own internal data, but people were just taking stabs at building their own personas that weren't necessarily based on anything. And I was like, no, we're gonna do this like in a way that is both data-backed and scrappy. And that's how things kind of work at Everyman Jack. At my previous role earlier this year, I did a segmentation with the group that used to be the Cambridge group. And that was like, you know, $800,000, many months. And we don't have that kind of time or money. So after getting this back, we have been using this tool, and which has been great, because normally what happens when you get a segmentation back is you get a one-pager and then you get a big deck and you try and do a little bit of a roadshow, and like really beyond the brand team, nobody has internalized and understands how to use that. And so this has given people enough high level, but we've had so many partners just immediately go in and dive in to use this tool. So that's my little intro, and I'm going to let Lindsay talk to you about more specifics.
Yeah, about how we've used it. And I'll say, since Kim's come on, it's just been so great to have segmentation, true segments, true targets, really know who they are. And then this just like serendipitously came along, and we were like, oh my gosh, at the perfect time, like at the company, you know, we're going through sort of a lot of big changes as a company. As Kim mentioned, like it's just such a competitive space. Like more and more brands are coming into the market. Even, you know, men's grooming as a trend and a category, like how men are using these products is evolving, right? So they're becoming more engaged. They're becoming more taking care of themselves. It's becoming more of their part of their wellness routine. And so understanding how they're doing this, who they are, and tapping into the minds and the emotional triggers for these guys is really important to us. So yeah, this has been, I'll just talk through a couple of different examples of how we've been using this tool. So it really bolsters our existing toolkit, right? So we've got amazing insight tools. We have social listening tools. We have this review seeding platform that we use, but it just helps us fill in the gaps of where these traditional methods sort of fall apart. So can act as a bridge between quantitative data and then also this human connection, right? So instead of replacing them, it actually amplifies them. So helping us validate our direction and clarifying messaging, et cetera. So and then the next area is really around messaging and creative development. So the teams have just gone crazy with him, like testing all types of messaging, all types of copy, positioning, you know, replaces rounds of like our internal, like, well, what do we think he thinks, right? Discussions to like real time, like in seconds, like, all right, what does he think about this? And it's not your typical ChatGPT where you enter something and they're like, all positive, like, yay, like, yes, your idea is amazing and it's brilliant. He's like, no, actually that idea is terrible and this is why. I don't like it. So that's been really helpful. And then Karen, our head of product development, is here, and we've been using him for our innovation testing, our concept testing. So like, how does this fit into your daily routine, right? Does this feel essential or nice to have? Does this fit into your lifestyle? So that's been amazing as we start to really pressure test concepts. And then, yeah, just continuing to like build like the emotional connection with our guy. It's just funny how like, it's like a robot is helping us become more emotional with our guy. It's like this AI like kind of counterintuitive thing, but like he really is like helping us do that. So, you know, it's like from solving simple needs to actual like getting into his rituals and his idea around confidence and yeah, his fears about smelling bad and wanting to smell good. You know, like there's like all these like layers that we can get into. And then as Kim mentioned, like we don't have time. Like we are moving so fast at incredible speeds and we don't have time to do lengthy focus groups and lengthy month-long things where we get one insight that maybe we talk about like, you know, every once in a while, but like this is like an active ongoing tool that we're able to use. And then internally it's just helping us build empathy with our guy. We're calling Jack. His name is Jack. And so across the company, they're truly starting to understand who he is and what motivates him. So that's been great. So yeah, and like we've just moved from really studying who he is to actually talking with him and speaking with him and having him be this real life person, which has been so cool. So there's my spiel. Highly recommend. These women are amazing. Definitely sign up.
We didn't want to make that. This is not meant to be like incredibly salesy. I would say that there's other ways of doing this. There is like a gold rush right now happening in terms of synthetic data sets, interactive personas. This is something everyone is going after right now. So this is not like a exclusive to us idea. We just happen to like our solution to it. But really, there are options out there for you to be able to keep interacting with your customers. And like to your point, maybe not need to run an A/B test. not need to re-recruit your customer base to message test. There's really creative, interesting ideas out there. I mean, it's Tech Week, it's AI Week, there's all kinds of different solutions. I would say that our main point is find a way to truly understand your customers from a buyer psychology standpoint, and find a way to continually be able to tap into them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. At your fingertips. Yeah. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think the consumer empathy piece is really important, especially when, if you work in consumer packaged goods like we do, everybody at the office feels like they are the consumer, right? Because it's easy. It's not like some nebulous tech product that doesn't apply. Everyone, I worked at Clif Bar for a long time. They're like, everyone's like, everybody eats. My opinion is just as important as the next. But you have to remember that you're not necessarily the target consumer. And so building that consumer empathy is really important. And then on the testing piece, I would say what's been valuable is, for lighter lifts like developing messaging, things like that, yes, we tested through that. But we are doing kind of more quantitative consumer validation for the first time as well. And I think where the tool has been helpful is just helping us to firm up as we develop what gets tested in the consumer validation has been also very helpful, right? Because you can only you have one go at it, and you're putting quite a bit of money, you got to take it to the board. And so I think it's been really helpful to shape those things. So I think everything from like kind of a light lift to a heavy lift has a different role.
Yeah, exactly.